And we're going to talk about the 10 pearls of knowledge for providing good anatomic shoulder replacement. This is my declaration. I have been a co-inventor of many devices. I am still receiving royalties for the VEOS shoulder replacement and the Infinity Lock AC joint stabilization device. My first pearl relates to getting it right first time. In the UK, Tim Briggs introduced the concept that as an orthopedic surgeon, you have a responsibility to your patient to get the operation right. And that means putting it in the correct shoulder, putting it in the right patient, putting it in at the right time, and putting it in the right way. And you as a surgeon have that responsibility. There is a program in the UK, the GIRFT program, that is actually studying all surgeons in the UK to try and encourage them to get it right first time. I'm going to tell you about the monitoring that is carried out in the UK after shoulder replacement. We have a national joint registry, and that joint registry has just this last week produced its 18th annual report. And that report is available as a PDF document, or you can go on to the NGR website and you can look at the results of shoulder replacement carried out across the UK. It is a wonderful development, currently overseen by Tim Wilton, who I worked with in Derby. We now have 3,833 shoulder replacements that have been monitored since 2012. And I'm going to show you some of the results and some of the problems that we have. In 2018, an analysis was carried out of what was happening in the shoulder replacement world. And because people are mixing and matching parts of the shoulder replacement, it was decided to analyze the shoulder replacements according to which construct was used. So you may have one humeral component, but a different glenoid component, etc. As a consequence, we have a lot of different kinds of shoulder replacement. We've got hemiarthroplasties, partial shoulder replacements. We have resurfacing shoulder replacements, and we have both anatomic and reverse total shoulder replacements. And more recently, we've got interpositional arthroplasties. What we have identified is a real problem with the number of surgeons doing shoulder arthroplasty. And this was demonstrated by your poll, which shows that most surgeons in Asia are doing less than 5 shoulder replacements a year. That is not good practice. Shoulder replacements ought to be focused on centers that are doing larger numbers, and that is what is beginning to happen in the UK. You can see in the UK, in 2019, we carried out 7,660 shoulder replacements, but in 2020, these were halved by the COVID problems. Now, if we look at one particular brand construct, that is resurfacing of the humeral head, we have 9 different brand constructs. This makes trying to work out which is the best one difficult and approaching impossible. If we look at the different types of shoulder replacement, you can see that we've got resurfacing, we've got hemiarthroplasty, anatomical total shoulder replacement, and reverse total shoulder replacement. Our joint register has identified 178 different types of shoulder construct. That makes it really difficult to analyze what is a good outcome and what is not a good outcome. Now, it's really important that we identify which are the best. And this list provides our 8-year outcomes from different types of shoulder replacement. The worst outcome is at the top, and the best outcome is at the bottom. So stemless humeral head arthroplasty has a 12% failure rate at 8 years. Humeral head resurfacing has about a 10% failure rate. Stemless reverse shoulders are poor. Stemmed humeral hemiarthroplasties are not so good. Stemmed total shoulder replacements are better, and stemless total shoulder replacements appear to be providing even better results. Interpositional arthroplasty, that is the subacromial balloon arthroplasty, has only just come out, and we don't know what's happening to that device. There is a paper that's just been published in the Bone and Joint Journal that analyzes the problem related to knee replacement. And they have demonstrated that there are so many variants now for knee replacement that revision rates of implant combinations are not currently reviewed sufficiently carefully, and some companies are covering up bad results. So we have a problem which is ongoing and for which you as a surgeon remain responsible because you are putting the joint replacement in. So peril number 1, you as a surgeon should know how good the shoulder replacement you are offering to the patient is before you insert it. Do you? I suspect 80% of surgeons don't know how good the results are, either their own results or the results that are published. There is a lot of encouragement at the moment to consider using a personalized shoulder replacement using 3D printing. But beware, personalized shoulder replacements are unique. They have no track record. You do not know how good they will actually perform. each one is its own individual experiment. L number 4. Never insert a new shoulder replacement without the necessary training. Oops, sorry, let me go back, sorry. It is very important to recognize that if you're trained as a pilot on a 747, you cannot and you are not allowed to fly an Airbus A380. It's a different airplane. It requires different skills. So it is important for you as a surgeon to acquire the skills necessary to put in a shoulder replacement. And you should not be putting in shoulder replacements without adequate training. The surgical approach you've been trained in is probably the best approach for you to carry out a shoulder replacement operation. I use the beach chair position and either the anterolateral approach or the anterosuperior Mackenzie approach. And I use a lesser tuberosity osteotomy that we described in 1989 when we described a special approach for doing revision shoulder replacement where you use a clavicular osteotomy. The lesser tuberosity osteotomy is very helpful for access to the shoulder. You need to use a good position on the operating table, and you need to get good access to the glenoid. Now, it's really important when you're putting in a shoulder replacement to get the humeral head in the right position. And you need to appreciate that the top of the humeral head is 5 millimeters or 6 millimeters above the top of the greater tuberosity. The picture on the right shows a perfectly implanted humeral head. There is, however, a real problem in relation to the potential for overstuffing a shoulder. And it's important to use a thin glenoid component or ream the glenoid or use no glenoid component at all to avoid overstuffing. Rick Matson has described very clearly how you can overstuff in some of his papers, and I would recommend that as a reading. He is a great surgeon, Rick. I have a lot of respect for him. I know him personally. And here you can see in the right bottom picture how an oversized humeral head overstuffs the shoulder. Now, I've been asked to mention young patients. And you've got to decide what a young patient is. Well, a young patient for me today is 71 because I'm 72. But your attitude towards whether you're a young patient or not does change with time. And I think it's reasonable to consider young patients to be under 50. And you've got to think about revision procedures. As was mentioned in the elbow section, you do an operation where the revision can be done more easily. And the ream and run procedure described by Rick Matson for primary shoulder replacement is something that allows you to carry out a revision easily. Now, my advice is that a patient should earn their operation. They should never be offered an immediate operation. They should be offered physiotherapy, painkillers first. The patient should have a period of pain and disability before surgery. You should control the patient expectations and never promise the patient the best result. Ensure they are well informed for surgery. And when you operate, avoid infection. Cutibacterium acnes and coagulase negative staph are the cause of the majority of our infections. And a final tip, don't operate under stress and learn from your mistakes. So these are my 10 pearls for successful